Hey, this is Matt Philleo here to do a Videarticle based on an original article I wrote for steemit.com. And I have the link for that article in the notes here for this video. So let me read this article for you, and I hope you enjoy it. This is an original painting of a now non-existent building. Here's a painting I did of a building in my town that's no longer there. I titled this The Original Upland. It's a 24-inch by 30-inch acrylic on hardboard. And I titled it that because it used to be the home of Upland Distributing, Incorporated, a vacuum and filtration sales and service company. And that's where I used to work years ago as a traveling service technician. So here's the painting I did. And while I worked there, I built up a relationship with my boss, the owner. We had our ins and outs, but we definitely built up a relationship there for sure. And since I knew the building was slated to be demolished soon, the owner would have to move his business into another building after being there for nearly 20 years. And, you know, I thought a painting would be an encouragement to him, and it would help keep the memories alive. Actually, I felt this was something that God wanted me to do to bless him. And so, you know, I waited for a while, but when I knew that the demolition was imminent, you know, they were going to take down that building and put up a performing arts center in its place. So I knew it was time to get out my camera, and I got out my camera and took some pictures. So here's some of the pictures I took at different angles. And now the thing is, you know, I might be a newbie at camera lenses. You know, I just tried to do the best I could with my small digital camera, but I was backed up by the buildings on the other side of the street, and I really couldn't get the angle I wanted for the image. So what I did is I took a few images and Frankensteined them together on Photoshop, and used the warp and perspective tool to change the angle of the building, and, you know, try to match the photos and then seam them together. So here's what I came up with. Now, never mind the cut up half floating car. That's not going to be in the actual painting. That's just an artifact that I figured, you know, let's not even take the time to cut that out, because I'll just do it in the painting process. But I was able to get those two different angles put together and make it look like it would have looked had I been taking the picture at a distance. Now with this layout, I now had an image to paint. And here's the step-by-step process. Step one, the sketch. I made this very simple, just some lines using a projector and a ruler to double check the angles. Now, here's something to keep in mind. A projector can really distort your image. So even if you're using that, you still want to double check your proportional skills and use a ruler to make sure you have straight lines. Now, after having the sketch done, it was time to fill it in with paint. I use an acrylic mixed with matte medium. And again, show that to you. I love this stuff, matte medium. It's just a clear acrylic without the pigment. And so I mix the acrylic with matte medium and use that to thin it out and make glazes. Everything starts out really light. And here's the colors I used. I used raw umber dark, burnt sienna. I used alizarin crimson. Let's see, phthalo blue. It's just a nice vivid blue, very, very strong pigment. I used raw sienna and yellow ochre, just a nice goldenrod kind of yellow color. Indian yellow, which is a very transparent but very strong pigment. Titanium white, gotta have white, and then ivory black, very, very strong black. And go to step 2, the underpainting. So in this step, I block in the initial color of the painting, and the goal is to create a lot of contrast right away and make the orangish brick colored building stand out against the pale white background. And in this particular background, I wanted to look like it was cloudy. The owner of the building really loves Christmas time and that kind of thing, so I figured let's make it look like there's a snow falling. And whenever you have snow falling, the skies is very white. It's just filled with snowflakes that diffuse the light. So again, that's what I did, was make that brick colored building stand out against the the pale white background of the snow and sky. And then using burnt sienna and raw sienna with a heavy amount of the clear acrylic medium, this matte medium, to dilute that. Then I filled the areas in rapidly with a 1-inch brush, which would be something like this. Nice flat 1-inch brush. And it really is the perfect size. It's large enough to cover the area quickly, but small enough to cut in around the windows and trim. Kind of sounds like house painting. I've done my fair share of that too. So now to step 3. Step 3, we define the darkest values. So unless you get a sense for the darkest values within a picture, you're never really going to know how dark to go with the medium and light values. So in this step, I darken the window ornamentation. That would be the top parts you can see right up in here. And the molding on top of the building as well. Also these areas down here. But I used a mixture of blue and brown, and I don't want it to be too dark. Why? Well, I'm trying to create the look of snow falling. So you'll notice as you look outside on a snowy day, and I already touched on this, that when fine snowflakes are in the air, you don't see a lot of white specks, but the colors and everything, especially the objects in the distance, are muted. So even here, the building is far enough back and there's some snow falling that I didn't want it to get too dark. I want to have that look of snowflakes being in front of the building and then making the building look further away. But if you notice something, or I should say, did you notice that something is missing? I took out the vehicle that was initially in this first stage, or I should say the second step. I put that in there, but then I decided it covered up too much details of the building that was interesting, so I just pulled that out. And then also to make the composition more interesting, I added in a snow-covered fire hydrant, which also reiterates the reddish color of the building. So I have that right in here. And I think that kind of adds a nice dynamic to the composition, pulls your eye down a little bit, and reintroduces the color of the building to the bottom portion of the painting. Now in step 4, enriching the colors, that's where it gets really fun. I enrich all the colors. I add several layers of burnt sienna and raw sienna to the building, making some areas darker than others. And I wanted to create the look of old brick that's maybe just a little bit dirty, in a few spots, and kind of catches the light in a little bit in areas that are angled towards the sky. Also, I really add in some details to the Mona Lisa. If you see that Mona Lisa image in the back there, that's a trademark of several buildings in downtown Eau Claire. There's a owner that just stamps those on pretty much all of his buildings, and he probably owns like half the city, or at least half the downtown, and that's kind of his trademark. But in this case, the image is faded after several years of sunlight on it, so it's kind of a bluish green. It doesn't have the other colors in it. But anyhow, step 5. Now things are really starting to look more accurate here. In fact, this is very, very close to being done. The final effects really enhance the overall presentation. I add a lot of snowflakes of various sizes to create the 3-dimensional look. of being closer to your line of vision than others. In other words, I don't just take a paintbrush and just kind of spray, white flecks on there, but instead I actually have different size snowflakes. So, I have some that are closer to you than others. This one here is a little larger, that one's smaller, kind of trying to get that shape in and then space them very randomly apart. See, our usual way of doing things as human beings is to order things too much. We like our world to be very orderly, but in nature, things are way more random. So snowflakes, some are very, very close to each other, some are farther. It's just like stars in the sky. And so I try to emulate that by creating patterns where some were close, some were farther apart. And then also I made it look like there are Christmas decorations on the building, getting those final details in there. And then just to, well, I shouldn't miss this. I also put in the details of the 2-hour parking sign. And that's a very, very important detail to include because the business owner recalls how he had to move his vehicle several times to avoid getting a ticket. It's all part of the memories. And then finally, just to add some charm, I put in a bicycle, again, covered by snow. And in fact, we have people in our city that bike year-round. I should know, I was one of them. I still am, but this year I haven't been doing it quite as much. But anyway, I make the bike facing towards the painting intentionally to lead your eye back into the composition. So you can see that here with that image. The bicycle's facing towards the left because we never want to draw our eye out of the image. We want to draw our eye back into the image. And that's why I have it facing like it would be going this way towards the left. So finally, here's some detail images so you can see it a bit closer up. You can see the detail on the sign a little bit there. Also some of those little stickers on the building and a reflection of a car that's kind of off camera, I guess. There's that nice Mona Lisa picture and all the snowflakes falling down and different patterns. That was probably one of the most fun parts of painting it, was putting in those snowflakes. When the painting was done, I gave this to my old boss as a gift, which he now proudly hangs in his new office. And so anyway, I figured I'd share this painting with you since, we're still in the gift-giving season. We're a little bit out of it, I should say, but with Christmas and New Year's just a few weeks behind us. And then also, in much of the world, I don't know where you live as you watch this, but certainly here in Wisconsin, this is that charming season of fresh snow, covering the old memories of the year gone by, symbolically cleansing and preparing a way for the bright promises of a new year. So be blessed, have a happy new year. Hope you enjoyed this Videarticle. And if you like this post, definitely upvote, follow, and re-steam here on Steam It. And then as you watch this here on YouTube, I would encourage you to go to Steam It, where you can upvote content that you like. And then also you can post your own content and get paid for it, which is a refreshing change from many different social media platforms. And it just uses the Steam cryptocurrency model, where cryptocurrency is really taking off now and doing quite well. This is a great time to jump in. I know I've enjoyed being on Steam It for the past 6 months, and it's been a great blessing to me for my art business. But just wanted to put that little plug in there for Steam It, and encourage you to check out the original article that you can find in the notes in the link there that I provided. So have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you soon.